are certainly far removed from the dark ages before the second wave women's movement in the 1970s. Back then, the moment you were slipped into that pink blanket sleeper, your future was pretty much mapped out for you. Unless you were part of a very, very forward-thinking, in those days we used the word liberal proudly, liberal household, you were not allowed to play with your brother's building blocks, trucks, or erector sets. You got to play with dolls. When you went to high school, you would see your brother take electronics, automotive shop classes, mechanics, and you got to take cooking classes or sewing. Now in my case, I was in a sewing class. When you graduated from high school, and this was true of many, many people I knew, if there were limited funds, you got to stay home while your brother went off to college. What difference did it make if you got an education? People would say. Your only goal and purpose in life was to get married and have children. But let's say that didn't happen immediately, and you needed to have a job. If you were, against all odds, a young woman who was good in math, and the reason I say against all odds because back then everyone knew that girls could not do math, and you were applying for a job where you wanted to use your math skills, you would have to choose from a segregated help wanted column in the newspaper, segregated by sex. There were female jobs, there were male jobs. And under female jobs, if you wanted to do something with math, you could be a bookkeeper. But you could never be an accountant, an actuary, a CFO, or a treasurer. If you were a single woman, you couldn't have a credit card issued in your name. You couldn't get a mortgage. You could even be refused to be service in a restaurant if you were dining alone. But you could never refuse to have sex with your husband. If he was diseased, if he was abusive, if he was an alcoholic, any husband at all. From the 1970s on, our sense of sexism in this country has really waxed and waned. And you can see it at times. It engages our national conversation and consciousness, and at other times we don't hear about it at all. For example, we saw during the 2008 primary and presidential campaigns that sexism was a very, very hot topic, only to disappear from the airwaves almost immediately after. A startling report that just came out has shown that women in this country pay hundreds of dollars more a year, hundreds of dollars more a year for our medical insurance than men do. Now, we all know that women don't have the same employment opportunities that men do, and that we work more sporadically. Sometimes we take time off to take care of our families, elderly parents, and that's always given as the reason why we earn so much less. But even a woman working full-time her whole life makes on average $700,000 less than a man. And those are for Caucasian women. For women of color, the pay gap is even more. That money could go a very, very, very long way, could have gone a very long way for women to purchase the kind of insurance to get themselves prenatal care, to nourish their babies, to take care of themselves. Now, there's another way in which women are hurt by gender discrimination in this country. We are not included as subjects in medical research. Traditionally, women have been not considered worthy of being included in clinical trials. Excuse me. The model, the male model, still in 2009 prevails. And this is very, very important because in many diseases, many cancers, HIV/AIDS, heart disease, women present symptoms different from men's, and we respond to different medications and different various therapies. Phyllis Greenberger, who's the president of the Society for Women's Health Research, told me that for too long she has fought to get women included in clinical trials, only to discover that when they've been included, the results haven't even been analyzed, they've been thrown out. And this is her mission of her society, to include women and minorities in clinical trials and to make certain that the results are analyzed. And of course, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, there have been budget cut and budget cut and budget cut almost to oblivion. But until we have this, women's health will always, always get short shrift. Why? Well, I'll give you a few reasons why. There is a sense in this country that women don't matter, which is really